we can't expect to hold other associations and industries accountable. So if we're going to be serious about this issue and draining the swamp, we've got to stop the swampy behavior. And Lord knows there's lots of it happening up here on Capitol Hill.
Let's touch on that a little bit more here. And actually, just to quote you directly, you've said accountability cannot begin and end with punishment after the fact. What kinds of prevention and transparency reforms are you pushing for?
Well, I mean, something as simple as the training for obviously members. They do a once a year training. You can basically turn on the video and walk away. I think that the training should one be in person. I think some of them are a little bit silly because it talks about, oh, you can't say this about how someone's stressed. Sure, okay. I think that people should be able to judge what's appropriate, what's not. But let's talk about the fact that you have members of Congress who are texting their staff at all hours of the night. I've heard from several staff that have come forward that say, hey, my boss will take everybody out drinking, and then I'll start getting late night text
Oof.
messages, and I'm uncomfortable, but I feel like I can't say no to my boss or not respond.
Oh,
And when
please.
they just kind of give an innocuous, oh, haha, smiley face, lol, the boss seems to think that that's a green light and continues to pursue and flirt and push. That is something that we see all the time. So, really kind of just letting members, but also senior staff say, hey, it's not appropriate to be showing up at your employee or junior staff or subordinate's apartment. It's not appropriate to be texting at all hours of the night. I think these are basic reforms that we could make, but I also think that there's some things on the front end that we could do to keep creeps from even getting to Congress. Things like
Oh,
having to disclose on your candidate disclosure whether or not you've ever had to pay out a settlement for sexual harassment. You
oof.
have to do financial disclosures. That should be another component of having to disclose in the spirit of transparency whether or not they have ever had cases like this in their previous life. So those are
Oh,
some of the
in their
things that we're
previous
talking
life.
about doing to make sure that we're
In
actually
their
getting to the
previous
policy work.
life.
Because we don't want to issue a report. We just want to see the changes so that this place actually gets changed.
Did
You
she?
mentioned something interesting when I first brought you in here in response to the first question I asked. Talking about that environment, allowing victims to come forward without fear of retaliation or losing their job. How do you
Mm,
create an environment like that on Capitol Hill?
That's been one of the toughest issues to really wrap our arms around because it is such a small place, Capitol Hill, the entire environment when you're looking at the associations that frequent Capitol Hill, media, and then, of course, the members and their teams. It's really hard when someone leaves another office for a reason such as this, that member then doesn't retaliate by giving a bad recommendation, which is that chilling effect as to why people don't come forward because this entire place is built on recommendations. And so
mm.
we've been discussing what options are out there. We've had some folks suggest independent panels, the ability
Oh
for people
yeah.
to peer report, so it
Peer
doesn't directly
report.
tie back to them. But while you're trying to balance protecting a victim, you also have due process to consider, and that is also something that gets to a place where if someone is accused, you want to be able to get to the bottom of it, and they deserve
Yeah.
to know who their accuser is. And so, one of the things that we're
Yeah.
looking at is an independent body that is removed from the Hill to
No.
review these issues. But
No.
that's all something that this working group is going to be addressing.
Mm-mm.
No definitive answers as of yet, but something that we're hoping to wrap up by the end of the year.
No. No.
And as
No.
we said here, this is really a bipartisan effort. This is being supported by Democrats as well as Republicans, most notably House
Oh
Speaker Mike
no.
Johnson and Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. How important is bipartisan support for making real change happen here?
Well, when you're looking at a house dynamic in particular, with very very tight margins, it's pretty tough to get.
All right. Let me tell you something here. Oh wait. Can I switch this thing around? Okay. All right. If let's look at what the Bible says. If you falsely accuse somebody, what you wanted for that person should be done to you. Why don't they put that in? What is a safe place to? Nothing safe about it. If you want to accuse somebody of something, you better be willing to stand by what you say. no, without any retaliation. Well, you know what? Why are you putting yourself in a situation that even has to happen? Don't tell me that you don't got the brains to know. Just like she said, people going out drinking. Why you got to be drinking? Why you got to be drinking with your boss? You don't want to drink? Uh, you want to drink? Fine, go drink. But you got to be with your boss. He wants to take you out drinking. So hey, listen, I got a date. Yeah, I got a date with the rain. No, I mean, there's a lot of things that you could do. You know, that if he comes showing up at your house, what the heck is that? You get yourself like five Rottweilers, and don't feed them a couple of days. you get you get like five Rottweilers, and you don't feed them a couple of days. After a while, they be looking at each other. That boy could knocking on your door. Oh, forget it. Oh yeah, they'll get it. They'll get a good taste of meat. You know, but a lot of this stuff is so stupid. Why are you alone with a guy? Why? If you're texting somebody, uh, if you feel it's inappropriate, hey, you gotta let him know from Jump Street. You don't let him continue. If that means that you gotta find another job, then you know what? So be it. And what is this? Have you ever had to pay out? Yeah, have you ever had to pay out for sexual harassment stuff? Okay, well, how about this? Have you ever made an accusation against a guy and it turned out to be untrue? Or it didn't lead to an arrest and a conviction? What's up with that? Huh? If you're gonna accept one, if you're gonna allow one to get in, you better allow the other one to get in. Oh, me too, me too. No, you know, no. Most of the time, I'm not saying you asked to get raped, but you're stupid. But you're stupid, and you got yourself in the wrong situation. You were drinking with the wrong person. You didn't. You didn't. You didn't. You didn't. You didn't. How do you say? You didn't do this correct safeguards. Um, if I go out to drink, I make sure I'm with people I know. Last time I went out to drink 2 years ago with my son and his girlfriend, and we went to go see the Errol Spence Crawford fight. So hey, I mean, and I didn't get rip roaring drunk. I had a couple of beers, and that's it. A couple of beers. Yeah, I had a couple of beers. That's it. And he had a couple of drinks too. You know, but I'm not gonna allow him to go rip roaring. Come out there staggering and then driving. That's not gonna happen. At least I won't get in the car. He can go, but I'll call up an Uber and go home. I don't care. I'm not. I like myself. I like myself too much. I got a lot of things going on. That's good. Got to go see my grandkids in Texas. I want to get remarried again. Want to have kids again. You know, I want to be one of those. I want to be one of those old guys that they can get kids in Pampers and he's in Pampers too. How's that? Nah, that's not that's the they got to change the whole rules. Because it's way too much power on the women's side. Everybody says they believe the woman, believe the woman, and yet when a woman who gets caught having sex with a young kid, they don't even they don't. Chances are she's not even going to jail. Chances are she ain't going to jail. But if a guy does it, forget, forget about it. So before we start thinking about doing new stuff, let's see if we can fix the old stuff. You know, you can't really you can't start new stuff because Swalwell and who is it, Gonzalez, resigned because they had sexual misconduct or whatever. I mean, and what is this thing about? You can't even tell a woman that's a nice dress you got on. What the heck is that? You know, it's the stupidest thing. If a sincere compliment, I mean, I'm like that. If I think something is nice, I'll tell the person. Now I'm not gonna say something weird like, boy, that thing really complements your curves and this and that, and go into all these details. Well, what? Just because I say, oh, that's a nice outfit you got on, or whatever. That's sexual harassment. That's unwanted talking. Hmm? I mean, that's totally stupid. That's totally stupid. I don't understand it. I remember when I took one of those courses that they had at this one place that I was gonna be working at, and it was totally ridiculous. Totally ridiculous. I mean, I can understand. They don't want any kind of lawsuits and stuff like that. I get it. But let's be logical about the thing. You know, and look at this stuff with how many people right now are in jail that really don't belong in there. I'm not saying that they didn't rape before. They could have raped before. Okay. I mean, if a person says that they're innocent, okay, let's hook them up. Let's hook them up to a lie detector. Let's hook them up to that eyeball thing, and let's see about their past. Okay, you say you haven't, you wasn't guilty of this rape, but have you ever raped before? Let's throw out the self-incriminating part of the Constitution out there for a little while. I mean, if he's so serious about his innocence, look at Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson, great example. He said that he didn't rape Desiree Washington, but he did admit that he raped other women. Okay, so what's the big deal, Mike? You know, just because you didn't. Most people, they do crime, crime, crime. They get caught, but we get caught one out of maybe 20 times that they get away with it. And some people don't even get caught at all. So that they're innocent, you know. Uh, as they say in Spanish, a otro pejo con ese hueso. So you give that bone to another dog because this one ain't chewing it.